29 points up at the half. Looked like the game was, sort of heading your way, and then the Josh Bruce injury seemed to just really sap the energy out of the group and just shift the momentum. Can you tell us first off, how Josh is, I guess?
Our medical staff will give you an update once they've done a full assessment after scans. So I'd rather not speculate. Obviously he's had a serious enough injury to finish the game, and it was probably before that losing Alex Keith more than Josh, and then it's a bit like the North Melbourne game, losing two key defenders. That game we took Aaron Norton and Bailey Williams back. We managed to still win the game. We felt that Aaron was going really well as a forward, occupying Taylor as well, and we couldn't take him out of our forward line. So I thought Lobby did okay when he went back. He covered for him well, but Bailey Williams had to go back, so that threw us out. But it's more the fatigue that enters the game, because you're asking probably 5 or 6 players to play full quarters when they're not used to it, and the things. I think it was probably one of our best halves for the year, the first half, as you're saying. When we kicking those set shots in the second quarter, and we're not sitting here worrying about the loss, because we just didn't capitalise on our opportunity. They'd take 9 marks inside our forward 50 in the first quarter. We were well on top, and then all the things we were doing well, particularly around the contest and being able to contain the ball in our front half through our midfield, then that escaped us in critical moments in the last half. And I think they kicked 7-5 from those situations out of their back end, from the ball just popping and us getting ahead of the ball, and we didn't have the layers to stop it, and we hung our backs out to dry, and they got on the end of some open field balls that had come out of congestion, so we just didn't manage that well, which is really disappointing. And so we're trying to process it. Everyone's a bit numb. Credit to them to be able to come over the top in the end, but it's one that got away. And no, we're not going to make excuses. There were things that we're probably a bit stiff with around injury toll and 1 or 2 other things, but ultimately still feel like we had enough opportunities and had enough control and momentum in the game to get it done, and that's why there's that numb sort of feeling and sensation at the moment. But we just got to think positively. We've got 4 games to go, and our destiny is still well and truly in our hands, regardless of dropping 1 today. So we've got to pick ourselves up. 6-day break, Friday night game versus Richmond, and compel each other to put our best foot forward to challenge the Tigers.
Obviously, around the ball, you looked really, really strong. Probably first half, and maybe, I don't know if that tapered off a little bit in terms of things that the Giants changed, or if it was just that fatigue, as you said. Do you sort of take some comfort in knowing that when that's going, you can kind of beat anyone? I think it's round 10's the last time you lost clearances, contested possession, pretty similar.
Yeah, we'll always be difficult to play against, with the guys that we play through there, the stoppage and in the contest. But look, the last quarter, both teams had 16 forward 50 entries. Yet they had 13 forward 50 stoppages, and we didn't have any. And so therein lies your challenge. You get the ball forward, but you've got to be able to keep it there if you're not scoring. That's when we're a good team. That's when we're hard to play against. So, we'll obviously look at that. We'll talk about it through the week. We'll challenge each other on why it came out of there, so quickly. But regardless of how fierce the contest is, as you run into the next one, if it comes back too quickly, it's sometimes too difficult to resurrect. And we had probably at least half a dozen of those situations where they got out the back into paddock, which we haven't let happen for a little while, and so that's the thing that's really hard to process, about that second half. There's reasons for it around what I mentioned earlier, but ultimately, at least we can identify with what it was. But as I said, we're usually better than that, and as I said, it's part of it's fatigue on our account because of what had happened. But the other part of it's good play by GWS, and how much of each. It's a blend, and in the end, we weren't good enough, and they got it. So we'll just look forward to Friday night now.
In terms of keeping the ball in, as you mentioned, the Tools looked really dangerous. I think English got forward and took mark into goal, as well as Norton, Jamara, and Love. Is that something that you'll look at in terms of personnel? Are you wondering whether it's a bit tall, or is it more about structure or something else in terms of the ball coming out?
In a perfect world, we can keep Lobby involved in that and keep him and Tim going in the ruck situation. But ultimately, we're going to lose one anyway because we've lost two key defenders. And with the way that they'd structured up forward line, in their forward line, they had three bigs for most of the game until they subbed Cadman off, and we're reasonably light on for guys who can cover that. And obviously Ed Richards not playing before. Ed normally plays big game time as well, so it was difficult to cover. But you're asking about the forward. Yeah, I think we can cause headaches as we did in the first half, but we just need. We just can't make excuses, because regardless of the injuries, we still feel like we should have done enough to win the game. Even though the blend and the roles and the complexion of our forward line changed, we still created enough opportunities, and we, as I said, we need to retain the ball up there for a bit longer. So it's pretty simple.
Looking ahead to next week, is Lob the one that's likely to, play back now, do you think?
We think Liam Jones might be available. We've got to work out whether or not that happens. But I don't really want to start speculating about the team. James O'Donnell was an emergency today, and he can play key back. So we're going to need at least one or two to come in and fulfil those roles. But it'd be unlikely that we'd want Rory to play as a key back. We'll want him to resume and assume the role he started with today, and form that partnership with Tim. And I thought he had a pretty good first part of the game as a forward, and competed, and he was good. He created some opportunities, but no, he's unlikely to go back. Yeah.
I thought Jason Johannesson was a positive today. Obviously, first game back from injury, and looked like he hadn't missed much pretty early, and was involved and had some big moments. Yeah.
No, JJ had some moments and did some good things. But it's a difficult one after this game to start to go to too many positives. I'm just trying to process the situation, but it's encouraging that he's back, and a good first one. On a sixth day, we just got to make sure he's fresh, ready to go on for Friday night.
Toby Green kicking 4 goals in the second half. Was it just the victim of the situation where they were able to go out back and Toby was loose, or was it more that he could have done in defence? Yeah, besides the one he kicked from the stoppage, it's exactly what I'm talking about. All that space to work in, clean transition, difficult to contain in the end. Taylor Duray played on him for most of the game. In the end, Taylor had to come off him and try and pressure ball, and he got some ball in space, but some of those we could have resurrected, but we ultimately we didn't. So it was a really good first half defensive effort. 17 points we kept them to, but she went pretty south in that second half, as for all the reasons that I've said. Alex Keith's second concussion for the season. So will you guys look at him? Obviously, he'll miss next week, but will you guys look at to see if it might be longer than just the 1 week, or are you?
Don't know, mate. We'll always look after our players. If there's any signs that he's got any issues that keep him out for the normal period, then our medical staff will look after that, and his welfare will be at the front of our thinking, and if he needs to miss any more, he will, but hopefully he's okay.
Any other injury concerns?
No, you know the main two. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.